there's this little thing that says Radio Observatory. By 1982, I'd done the north part of the park, the west part of the park, the central part of the park, the southern part of the park, and now we're thinking, where are we going to go? Well, eastern part of the park sounds interesting. So we decided to go down and see the Barron Canyon, High Falls, the beautiful swimming pools there, Carcajou, the whole place. Well, that took us about 3 days. And then my canoe buddy says, there's got to be another place. And there's an access point here, so we should be able to get there. But the thing that really got me was this. There's a radio observatory here. And I've seen it in the map, always been there. I'm going, it's time to explore. We did. And here she is, the grand old lady of Algonquin Park. Well, at that time, I don't think she was that old, because boy, she looked really pretty. And in 1982, the National Research Council was doing maintenance on this telescope. So we lucked out. We got to do the grand tour. And I mean grand tour. That's me, right there, right on the edge, inside and out, right through the telescope. Here's what it looks like right from the edge. You can see traverse. And there's the 11-meter dish, and that's still there, and we're going to make that operational soon. It's a beautiful place. And I said, gosh, I got to figure out somehow I got to get working there. So we ended up staying on Lake Traverse for a couple of days, and it rained every day after that. But on the way out, I figured, oh, I'm going to drive in one more time and have a look at it. And she was pointing right down the road, so I figured, all right, let's take this shot so I won't forget you. So here's some of the historical facts on the telescope. Now, remember, this is 1982. I didn't have this stuff. There was no internet. I didn't have my first PC, which was a 286, and I got a company loan, and guess how much that 286 cost? $8,000, folks. $8,000. So it was really hard to get information at that time. This information really has come from today and the web and word of mouth. I did understand some of the science they were doing there, but not a lot of it. This long base, it's called very long base interferometry, developed in 1965, is one of the crucial discoveries that was done at this site. It allows two telescopes or more, and we use more today, to align ourselves and do observations at exactly the same time. And what that does, it makes a 46 meter dish, or 150 feet, 3,500 miles. In this particular instance, in 1965, this was with the radio telescope in Picticton, BC. One of the things you need to have this, to be able to do this, is accurate clocks. We have atomic clock, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. So, one of the keys on this telescope, and why it still works today, it's extremely accurate. It is very pointed. This is the focus cabin. And over here are the elevation drives, and right here are the azimuth drives. So this is totally focusable right down to 11 degrees on the horizon. And it can track any object in deep space very precisely. The only thing that changes today is what we put in here, the different antennas and the electronics that captures this information. Very special place. This is part of the National Gravity Net. About 2, sometimes 3 times a year, depending on their cycles, we get these 2 people from Natural Resources Canada, and this one guy grabs this big fridge. It's like a fridge. And he brings it down the stairs to the basement of the telescope, drops it down, opens the door, flips this lid off, and they do some kind of laser measurements, and they let it run for like 24 hours. Well, I keep learning. That's why I'm working here now. What they do is they measure the gravity, and also to the core of the Earth, and also how much fluctuation there is on the crust. And believe it or not, even at this site, the fluctuation can be up to 1 meter. So we're sitting on something that's alive. And they do that all these little red dots all over Canada, they do that 3 times a year, 2 to 3 times a year up here. So we're part of that network. It's very important that we're mapped accurately. So time goes by. I have a career. I get married. I have a daughter. And in 2004, I said, it's time to go back. So I asked a buddy of mine to come canoeing with me, and he did. That's my buddy Bruce. He'd never been there, so I figured, okay, let's go and show him something. And I looked at her and I'm going, geez, what is going on? I don't like to see this lady that way. So it had changed hands and it had been neglected for a while. But that was about to change. In 2008, Thoth Technologies took over the site. And as soon as their website was online, that would have been late 2008, early 2009, I found out about it. So guess what I did? I made reservations. I wanted to go and see that. So they had cleaned up the staff house and made the site operational again. So I wanted to go back and have a tour. And I did. And at the same time, being coincidence, it was really interesting that I had been, well, I considered it kind of karma. And then I developed a passion for this place. And I said, I really want to help. And I said, you don't even have to pay me. Just give me a room and board. So they accepted. And I stayed at the staff house and I helped them renovate this place, make it operational again. It now has 14 rooms and it houses the scientists when we're there and guests whenever they want to book. And then with Ben and Caroline, we started the refurbishment and restoration. This is one of those new electronic things going into the focus cabinet. And as you can see, we had started painting and restorations. One of my goals is always to go up. I love being high up. So here I am at the top of focus cabinet. I'm going, yay, look at me, here I am. And then Ben says, get to work. Okay, so I'm back to work. Here we go, let's go back. So yeah, continue painting the dish. This is the progress. We're getting there. And here it is, almost done. But we had to save a little square because we were going to have a celebration. So the people that volunteered, we invited them all up, pointed the telescope up, we all went up into the dish and had a little celebration. We had a few pops and enjoyed ourselves. In the meantime, we changed 3 bearings. Actually a couple weeks ago was the 3rd bearing, and I've been involved in 2 of them. And these things aren't small. This is one of the main gearbox bearings. And we had just changed, like I say, another, well, see this gear here? This is about 5,000 pounds. And we lifted it up manually. So, and this is Ben. We had a great time. It took us 3 months to change that gearbox bearing. Next. One of the keys to making this site viable and operational is we had to reduce our signature energy consumption. It's just, you know, we couldn't operate it like the government. There isn't a tap, you just open up and let it flow. So we had to make it economically viable, and one of the things is conserve energy. So we started picking off fruit, the easy stuff, and we're still working on it today, and we're now working on the hard stuff. So we're getting there, and it's been a fun time. And here I am, one of my other goals. I know I'm never going to get to space, but this is the way I'm going. I'm going to operate the telescope and point it to space and see what I get back. So I've learned to operate this telescope, and it's a charm to do that. So what I like about this, you heard the Holiday Inn thing? Well, I'm not a scientist, but I operate the telescope for one. And this is Wei Li Pen, professor at the University of Toronto, and a scientist, and he's doing new research now on quasars. So the telescope doesn't actually do astronomy, radio astronomy. We've been there, done that. However, the astronomers are no longer just astronomers. They're physicists. And we still don't know these far objects called pulsars, quasars, which are really a form of neutron star. They don't fully understand how they work. One of the ways we do that is through the VLIB that I talked, or VLBI that I talked about. But now we're using telescopes not just across Canada, But lately, we've just grabbed 3 telescopes around the world, one in Germany, one in India, and doing those studies and pointing the telescopes at exactly the same time. And again, we haven't seen results because this has just been done, but very interesting work. Quasars, pulsars are all neutron stars, and the difference between a quasar and a pulsar is a pulsar spins at the poles and acts like a lighthouse. So it flashes. You know, they flash a lot quicker than that, but it's kind of we can measure ourselves exactly where we are by measuring how far all of these are, triangulate that, and exact our position in the universe, which is really cool. Quasars rotate very quickly along their equator. And like I said before, pulsars rotate at the poles. That's why they pulse. One of the interesting things about quasars and pulsars, this is the actual disk that's on a Voyager spacecraft. Who knows Voyager spacecraft? Does everybody know? Launched in 1977 to explore the outer planets, the big planets. And their final step of the mission was to slingshot across each planet they encountered and then head out of the solar system. Well, today, we're still talking to these, and it wouldn't be possible to talk to these unless we had a radio telescope. Right now, they have the Deep Space Network, which is a radio telescope in the United States, a radio telescope in Spain, and one in Australia that are used to still talk to the Voyager spacecraft. They're on the edge of leaving our solar system. Right now, a message to a Voyager spacecraft, and there's 2 of them, a round-trip message, think of this, at the speed of light, takes 35 hours. At the speed of light. Anybody calculate how far that is? I'm not going to bother. These ends point to pulsars, and that is the Earth in the middle. So that tells anybody, whoever, alien, somebody, who discovers this, some think it's good, some think it's bad, but it tells them where and how to find Earth. The location of ARO, the Algonquin Radio Observatory, is 1 millimeter against pulsar background, which means our location in space at the observatory is very, very precise, and we need that to be able to perform the science that we need. And none of this would be possible unless we had an atomic clock. And this is an atomic clock. This clock will lose plus or minus 1 second in 63 million years. That's how accurate it is, which is pretty amazing. But without this, GPS around this planet doesn't work. Einstein was right. We do have issues, with clocks traveling, even around our planet. These correct for that, and that's why we're not driving ourselves off bridges or into lakes or, off massive cliffs. One of the reasons Thoth Technologies got a hold of the telescope, because we have our own Mars mission. And this is a little rover prototype. We plan on sending that to Mars. This is a drop from the telescope, which was a lot of fun. It did survive, and this is the drop vehicle. Without this telescope, we wouldn't be able to communicate to our little probe on Mars. That's one of the reasons we wanted to resurrect this and make it fully viable. Upcoming projects? All right, so we're going to take a ham radio, we're going to send a signal to the moon, and we're going to try to pick it up with the telescope. That's going to be an interesting little fact. And with that information, we can actually measure accurately to the inch or a millimeter, whatever you want, the distance from the Earth to the moon, and that varies constantly. Another exciting project that I am really excited about is being able to show you visually radio astronomy. Radio astronomy is not a visual means. These are radio waves that we're picking up. But with this, which students are working on right now, We hope to be able to provide you a picture of radio astronomy and what we're looking at live. It's going to be a blast. And one of the last projects, or immediate projects that we've got on the go is sending a Canadian message out into space. So, what would you want to say to an extraterrestrial? You have an opportunity to do so. There's a site on the University of Toronto. Scientists are trying to get people excited about this. So you can create your message, put it on the website, and if you're chosen, we're going to send that message out into space using the telescope. A publicity stunt? Maybe. But you know what? It might generate some interest. Get some young people thinking about out there. Very far out there. Oh, speaking of out there, presentation wouldn't be proper unless we had a few locals, right? Big bull moose, he was in the Crow River just past Big Crow Lake, looking right back at me. And one of my favorites, great blue heron, just a few inches off the water. I love it. I love this park. I love being outdoors, and if it wasn't for being outdoors, I would have never met this grand old lady. And if it wasn't for my persistence in helping and working, I'd have never gotten into space. And I'm using this telescope to get there. So a few people I want to thank, Ben and Caroline, who are Thoth Technologies. They accepted me and accepted my help, and they've been very kind and generous. And my wife, letting me go weeks and weeks at a time up this observatory. And since I'm the chef at home, they really miss me. They still miss me. And Randy, for the night pictures of the telescope, NASA for the pulsars and the information, the Voyager golden record, the Natural Resources Canada for the gravity reference maps, and thanks to other people. One of the places you want to go and visit, if you want to come visit us, there's the website. Visitors are welcome. And if I'm there, I'll give you the grand tour. Because I love being there, and I love being in this park, and I want you to come out and see. Let's get out there. Enjoy it. Thank you.